Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, News Gaon se Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today, our topic is COVID returns, future of education in India. But before I will go to the topic, I would like to inform you that today world is celebrating the International Day of Families. The International Day of Families is observed on the 15th May every year. The day was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993 with resolution which reflects the importance of the international community attached to families. The International Day provides an opportunity to promote awareness of issues relating to families and to increase knowledge of the social, economic, and demographic processes affecting families. This year theme is Families with New Technologies. Media conference with Lal Goel wishes you all on this International Day of Families. Now coming to our main topic, that is COVID returns, future of education in India. COVID-19 has affected a large number of students across states, class, caste, gender, and region. The shutting down of schools and the decision of shifting traditional classrooms to digital platform is not only increasing learning inequality among children, but also pushing a large number of children out of school due to the digital divide. Other than learning, the absence of schooling would also have a long-lasting effect on the health and nutrition of children. The plan to return students to physical classroom has suffered a major setback in the last few weeks, with the country witnessing a second wave of COVID-19 cases that is worse than the peak in 2020. Another set of lockdowns seems imminent with no telling when the situation will be back under control. Eventually, the government and educational institutions do want to facilitate a return to offline pedagogy. The current delay gives them more time to formulate a better roadmap for ensuring a safe transition back to school-based learning. Some may question whether a return is necessary. After all, e-learning has been on the rise during the pandemic and is being heralded as the future of education. However, while online pedagogy does a great job of supplementing offline education, it does not serve as the latest replacement. This holds especially true in a developing economy such as India for several reasons. To begin with, the digital medium cannot replicate the interpersonal interactions that schools facilitate by bringing together young children from different backgrounds and cultures. In essence, they act as a melting pot of ideas and perspectives that serves to broaden the learner's perspectives. Interacting with their peers between classes also help students develop their social skills essential to their holistic growth and development. Another aspect is that of equitable access. India is infamous for its wealth gap. A 2020 Oxfam report highlighted how the country's richest 10% own almost 3/4, that is 74% of its wealth. This means that of the 320 million learners calling in India home, a significant percentage does not have the same access to digital facilities as their more privileged peers do. This disparity is further complicated by the digital divide between urban and rural India, leading to issues with consistency and quality of learning. Even developed countries such as the US have faced challenges with ensuring quality education to learners during the pandemic. McKinsey estimated that school closures until January 2021 would lead to an estimated 6 to 8 months of learning losses in US, with low-income Black and Hispanic students disproportionately affected by it. India might fare even worse if offline learning is not resumed soon, given the inequities, bottlenecks, and the challenges that already plagues its education ecosystem. However, going back to school will not be plain sailing. Stakeholders from government, educational institutions, and regulatory bodies will need to ensure that the return to physical learning does not jeopardize the health and safety of the students. The role of the budget in the current situation as well as beyond the pandemic is very crucial to ensure inclusive education for all. Over 1.5 million schools across India closed down due to the pandemic. A switch to large-scale digital education is not possible now. Only 24% households have access to the internet, according to a 2019 government survey. In rural India, the numbers are far lower, with only 4% households having access. The Education Ministry's budget for digital e-learning was slashed to rupees 469 crores in 2020 to 2021, the year COVID struck, from rupees 604 crores the previous year. In 2020, the education sector in India took a big beating due to COVID and impacted the progress made so far in ensuring universal literacy. Even a developed state such as Tamil Nadu felt the impact of classes going online. Now, just as that academic year is ending and the next is set to begin, the country is witnessing a second wave with case numbers spiking across states. As per UNICEF estimates, over 25 crore Indian children have been negatively impacted by the closure of schools. A UNESCO report finds that the pandemic has further widened the existing inequity in the education sector across the world. The ramification this development could have on the Indian economy in the long run are of serious concern. As uncertainty looms over yet another academic year, policymakers must act fast to prevent loss of time and bridge learning gaps. To begin with, India had adopted a mix of TV, radio, and online classes for students in the past year. However, a recent study by UNESCO terms these as imperfect substitutes for classroom learnings. This is primarily because such media, except online classes, disallow interaction. According to a National Statistical Organization study, until 2019, only 15% of homes in rural India had internet access. The penetration increased to 42% in urban areas, though the figure is likely to have gone up in 2020 as the internet became an essential commodity. The reach is absolutely far from universal. In this context, it's important for policymakers to work towards drastically improving internet access. Tamil Nadu, a state often accused of propagating the freebies culture, made remarkable progress by issuing 2 GB free data to all college students during exam time. If the right to free and compulsory education must be upheld, then policymakers must ensure free or subsidized access to the internet for students until the pandemic is contained. While online classes will not solve the problems at hand, they will ensure that learning continues. Investing in free internet for poor is an economic necessity. Future is uncertain, still one can predict it. If we talk about the future scenario of Indian education, it is no less encouraging. The way in which the reformation in the education sector is being carried out, no doubt the education scenario of the country will change very soon. Starting from the primary education system, the government is now taking various steps to universalize the elementary education in the country. Various non-government organizations, NGOs have also come forward to join the revolution. At the higher educational level, significant changes have been taken place in the system. In the past few years, the scientific and technological developments in the country has got international attention. The government's education expenditure as a percentage of GDP has never ever risen above 4.3% of GDP, despite the target of 6% having been set as far back as in 1968 by the Kothari Commission. The country's education system turns out millions of graduates every year. Ultimately, we do not know when India will finally emerge from the pandemic's hold to resume offline learning. However, stakeholders must prioritize the creation of a blueprint for the students' eventual return to school. For a majority of young school children across the country, it is not a luxury but a non-negotiable necessity. And why we are talking about the COVID returns? Because As of yesterday, on 14th May 2021, India registered 3,26,123 new cases of coronavirus, which has taken the country's cumulative tally past 2,43,72,000 cases. Yesterday, 3,879 lost their life. And this is, viewers, I would like to inform you, this is an official data. As per the media reports, many bodies have been seen floating on Ganges in UP and Bihar. So we cannot vouch for this official data because the world media is saying that the tally is 5 to 10 times more what is being mentioned in the official data. But we have no other way to find out. So we have to stick to the official data, which is 3,879 lost their life. Thus, total death due to corona raised to 2,66,229 till yesterday. According to health officials, India has administered 17 crores 92 lakhs 98,584 vaccine doses across the country as of yesterday, that is 14th May 2021, which is hardly 2.3 to 2.5% total vaccination with those who have taken both the doses. And if we will talk of the single dose, it will be hardly 11% or less than 11% of the total population. Now, we have to discuss the main topic, and that is COVID returns, future of education in India. We have today a very learned, very experienced, those who are authority in this field, panelists with us. So I would like to invite my first panelist guest. He is Professor Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur. Professor Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur, MBA, MPhil, PhD. He is a professor at Justice K.S. Hegde Institute of Management, NITTE. He has qualified KSET management examinations conducted by University of Mysore in 2013. He has over 18 years of industry teaching and research experience. He has worked as lecturer at SDM College of Business Management and Postgraduate Center for Management Studies and Research, Mangalore from 2003 to 2006. He has worked with JP Morgan Chase Bank in India and New York, Delaware, USA corporate office from 2006 to 2012. His teaching and research areas include behavioral and corporate finance, enterprise risk management, and corporate taxation, and has a strong exposure in practical knowledge of various statistical packages such as SPSS, MATLAB, etc. He has published research papers in national and international journals and also presented research papers in various national and international conferences, seminars, and workshops. He is a life member of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, IIBF, Mumbai, Management Teachers Consortium Global, MTC Global, Bangalore, International Association of Academicians and Researchers, INAAR, Pune, Indian Academicians and Research Association, IARA, Assam, and Federation of Indian Professional Trainers, FIPT, New Delhi. Welcome, Professor Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur on our show. Professor Pai, you know the conditions of the education, what is happening today. When pre-COVID, everything was going fine. Rather, the government was about to announce the National Policy, Education Policy 2020, which subsequently they announced on 30th of July 2020. But because of the COVID, everyone moved to the online. Those who can move, those who can't, they have to shut or close their college and their schools for the time being. But once the unlocking process started, the college and school also came and started, but very in a very phased manner. And in that way, they could not start in a full way, which they were supposed to do, because earlier they were busy in conducting the exams. After finishing the exams, then they started the admissions, and the admissions were very low as per the figures which have come to me through the media conference. The panelists have informed that they have not received the number of students what they usually receive. But now again, the COVID returns, and this time the severity is far, far more than the last time. And not only the school colleges are closed, rather the exams of up to 10th have been cancelled. So basically the idea is to promote all the students up to the 11th standard, so they will reach up to 12th, and only the 12th exams and the graduations and the post graduations exam will take place. When they will take place, nobody knows. And even the NEET, PG and others have been postponed. Even the engineering admission, JEE, etc., all have been postponed. Now, when this is the situation in India today, and when we are not clear, because right now even the vaccination is very slow, although yesterday government claimed that we will provide by December so many doses. But again, the thing is, because this vaccine is valid only for 8, 9 months or 10 months. So again, those who have already taken the vaccine, this 17 crores, would like to go for the fresh again. So this is something, if we will not completely vaccinate, or at least 70% of the population is not vaccinated, we will not be conquering this COVID, and the more and more mutant will come. When this is going to be the situation, we would like to know from you, COVID returns, future of education in India. Professor Dr. Janeshwar Pai Marur, please.
Thank you, sir. Famous Irish poet and dramatist Oscar Wilde rightly said, education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth learning can be taught. Good morning. At the outset, I would like to thank Goel sir for inviting me for this session. I'm extremely happy to be part of today's media conference to share my views with such an elite and enlightened panelist. My senior friend, Professor Dr. Catherine Nirmala and Mr. Sabir Hussain. I'm sure everybody would agree with me when I say that the world has literally blighted by COVID-19 pandemic. Within the education realm, higher education institutions and universities somehow scrambled to shift to online learning with little or no preparations. Much has been talked, written about the hastily moved transition. How can we move, how we have gone from classroom to Zoom and from pedagogy to panicagogy. We have heard enough of this. Believe me, as the COVID pandemic returns, we educators have learned the significance of preparing students for life rather than merely for livelihood. As an academician, I strongly agree that academic rigor is certainly important, but including life skills cannot be put on a back burner. Future higher education institutions and universities will have to somehow adjust with the new change. There is no other go. We have no choice but to adjust with the technological advancements. We cannot go back to the original concept of brick and mortar classroom only teaching, learning, or face-to-face interactions. Let me tell you, those achhe beete din are far too far from reality. The adaptation and integration of technology in classroom has been one of the biggest changes, and mind you, is going to be the future of education in India. Educators have been compelled to upgrade their technical skills. This applies to all our senior teachers to create better and more engaging lessons. The new academic delivery mechanism will continue to get upgraded and is expected to spill over beyond the pandemic. It doesn't last at least for a few years from now. I fully agree that digital tools only complement and can never ever substitute intimacy and the immediacy of face-to-face learning. Since teachers are now moving their content from offline mode to online mode, probably the precious classroom time could be more productively utilized, say for discussions, debates, and well-guided practice. The attitudinal change, I would like to highlight the attitudinal change, which I hope will be visible in all of us, including me, is that of the learner rather than the previous role of just a facilitator. Teacher's role was facilitator. Now we have to go beyond that. This is great opportunity for all of us to come down from our pedestal of being a guru or a teacher or a facilitator to that of a co-learner. In fact, COVID has taught us this. If taken in a right spirit, this is very important. This will enhance the educational landscape and can create new vistas of ecosystem of learning. We always tend to blame the parents, but let me tell you that parents have already stepped up and embraced this new learning environment. During the pandemic, or during the current lockdown, in the second wave, we have witnessed the power of engaging different stakeholders, which stimulated learning and skill development at remote locations. The latest skill development courses available are all available in the virtual platforms, be it Coursera or Great Learning. All these open sources allow pedagogic reinventions and promote more relevant trends in education. Many teachers have done, including me. I've done a lot of online MOOC courses. I've done these courses and have transitioned to innovative aspects of academic transition, which is more contextual for learners. As we head towards the future, and given students or youth's sedentary lifestyles, higher education institutions need to invest more and more in teachers, need to upskill and reskill teachers in kinesthetic learning, which is currently zero. Teachers need to be adept in conducting activities, projects, assignments, study materials, which are primarily student-centric. And this is what is going to be the future. Let me tell you, students have got too much access to information, which is considered negative at some times. But let me talk about the information overload in a very positive sense. Because of information overload, they have their own filters in place ready. Let us be geared for it. Teachers must find more creative ways, and this is going to be a challenge, to engage, as there is perhaps a decline in the attention span of the youth or the youngsters. Now, repackaging the delivery of curriculum and simultaneously empowering students to learn independently, giving them the ownership, sense of achievement is going to be the future. I'm sure as COVID returns, the second wave, it has already returned. And at a serious note, I would say the third installment is still due. We have not seen the third wave still. Will reveal, let me tell you with a heavy heart, Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani of education. Will reveal the Doodh ka doodh and pani ka pani of education. And finally, it is going to be the survival of the fittest and the innovators. And weak institutions who cannot afford might be just getting vanished in the process. Good education, bad education in days to come will not be decided by the marks which is currently being done. It will be decided by the level of engagement with the learners, the quality of content, and the value of the content. The future of education in India is going to be in the content and not the container. It's all about connections and community engagements in days to come when we talk about the future. Now, let me highlight some of the future trends in higher education in India, I think, which is going to be shortly seen. Future number one is technology will kick in a big time, will kick in a big time. Most of us think, okay, now we have moved from classroom to Zoom. Let me tell you, Zoom is not e-learning. One of the fastest growing technological educations to the education family is going to be artificial intelligence, which we call AI, and the augmented reality, which is AR. To enable remote learning, technology will kick a big time. Future classrooms probably will be with the help of social robots. Let us be prepared. And teachers will not be the only source of information. Assistant human teachers and social robots will together create something like, I would say, cobot kind of a situation, and there will be a lot of co-learning. See the terms. Things like Siri, Alexa, artificial intelligence, enabled chat boxes. They already exist in our education institutions, making artificial intelligence part of our day-to-day teaching activities. This is only going to grow bigger and stronger. All the things that we used to talk of as science fiction is all going to be become the new normal in the near future. Also, not to miss out, virtual classrooms are also going to be the future of education. The future number two, which I'm assuming could be immersive, hybrid, and personalized blended learning model. Learning is going to be difficult, is going to be very difficult. I would say not difficult, is going to be very different in future. Colleges might have to determine which experiences are best served in physical space and which lectures could be delivered well in a digital space. So digital space and physical space have to be partitioned. There will be some teachers who will have to teach online from home, who will be called as online faculty members, and some others will have to take from coming to campus, taking up the physical classes. Taking classes online and meeting the faculty offline for clarifying doubts only might be the future reality of education. The third future which I'm seeing is continual learning with flexible pathway. Somewhere I feel that NEP also has been talking about multiple entry and exit points, but I'm talking about the flexible pathways. What what it is, I'm going to highlight. Universities and higher education institutions may be forced to change the way they operate to thrive as COVID returns and during the post-pandemic world. Terms like uniform academic calendar, uniform curriculum, all these things I worry will cease to exist in the post-pandemic. I bet. A continual learning model that reimagines higher learning as a platform for lifelong learning, where students, or I would say real learners, move in and out of the institution's curriculum throughout their lives to gain and update their knowledge as and when needed. This is going to be the reality. The future might be like admitting students throughout the year. We are not seeing that right now. Offering more personalized online and offline classes throughout the year, and connecting to students before acceptance, during enrollment, and after graduation. Let me tell you, this calls for more collaboration. I think we as institutions need to more collaborate rather than compete amongst higher education institutions so that a win-win situation will arise. Now you might ask why. Competition is going to be very, very futile. Why? Because differentiating an institution's brand from other institution is going to be very difficult. Why? Because everybody is at home learning online. So what type of competition are we talking about? The fourth future, which I suspect is going to be the demand for short-term skill courses. And who's going to drive it? It is going to be led by the expert tutors, and live video classes is going to be growing in future, and we will see massive traction coming for these short-term skill courses. We all know that in India, greater percentage of students have already started questioning the value of academic degree. That's very, very sad. The time that is taken to get a degree, they don't talk about earning a degree and the cost of the degree. That's very sad. Companies and the tech giants like the Google, Microsoft, IBM have created short courses and boot camps that are less expensive and less time consuming than traditional degrees of 3 or 4 years, and more focused on acquiring skills that can be used to secure good paying or hefty paying jobs. Universities and higher education institutions will need to reconfigure their approach significantly to stay relevant. Otherwise, you will get kicked out from the system. The next future, what which I'm seeing could be subscription-based colleges. You might be thinking, what type of terms are this? Subscription-based college. Now, right now, if you see, neither the AICTE nor the UGC is going to permit this type of system. Know what these subscription-based colleges are, and is it going to be a reality? My answer is yes. Now, instead of enrolling, for example, student might subscribe to a college. What do you mean by subscribing to a college? Say for a monthly fee, they can take whatever they want when they want, with lifelong access to advising and career help. This will help students to really only learn skills and subjects that they feel useful for their career growth. This will lead to extremely high standards of student satisfaction, and their learning curve is going to take a very steep growth. The next future, what I'm going to suspect, or which I'm predicting, is putting students' needs first. In future, mind you, students might seek a college or a university that best meets their academic, financial, and future employment needs. With well-established health protocols, all these things are not being looked into by students now. With well-established health protocols and proven track record of putting students' needs first. Students will enroll in colleges with robust career counseling, internship, and lifelong learning opportunities. Ultimately, colleges and universities that do not want to adapt, do not want to be held captive by COVID-19 will need to reassess how they will continue to add value to the students or the youth in the post-pandemic world. Some of the other developments which I don't want to elaborate, but I would like to highlight is social distancing might result in too little or no sports activities in academic institutions. That means physical education will take a complete backseat. I'm assuming that colleges might need to operate in 2 shifts or 3 shifts. We'll have to be ready for all this. The need for social distancing means lesser students in each class. Educational institutions perhaps might have to work in multiple shifts, as I said, 2 or 3 shifts. This might put infinite pressure. Let me tell you, it's going to put a lot of pressure on teaching and administrative staffs. Lots of colleges in India have far too many students packed in a classroom, small classrooms. Though UGC and AICTs have been saying not to accommodate more than 60 in a classroom and to maintain an ideal ratio of 1:15 or 20, that ratio keeps changing. But academic institutions have not been respecting these ratios. That's the reason a thinner classroom may actually make a better teaching and class interaction, which I call as blessings in disguise, both for the teacher and the taught. Distance learning courses may not be considered inferior. They might get into limelight. Examinations, assessments, and grading will undergo a sea change. So I would not like to drag. I would like to conclude saying that I say we academicians will have to latch on to caring for students as a whole people, fostering community and connections that facilitate learning, working to understand each student's context, collaborating with the students on learning from students, responding with flexibility, engaging in conversations about difficulty of now, challenging students to learn, not to ride out of the semester, avoiding isolation and collaborating with faculty members, and using students and teacher colleagues as resources and sounding boards. To stay relevant, 2 things are very, very important. Universities and higher education institutions will need to reinvent their learning environment so that the digitalization expands and complements student, teacher, and other relations. Whatever be the future model emerges, I'm not sure which model will finally emerge. They need to provide value for the money that is spent by the student by giving importance to 3 basic attributes. That is affordability, functionality, and emotional. Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you so much. I would like to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Pai, for giving your views about the future of education in India post-pandemic time. And I would just like to highlight 1 or 2 things which Dr. Professor Pai has mentioned. One is about that, according to him, the future is online, and not only online, the artificial intelligence and other such type of things where more and more technology will be used. So that is his take. He says until unless the universities and the colleges will not geared up themselves for these types of facilities, it's very difficult to give the education to the students and in a large volume. Secondly, he says about the subscription model of the education, where according to him, once a student subscribe or give a lifetime subscription to a college or university, then he or she can visit or take the guidance from the university whenever they require lifelong. So according to him, lots of changes are required. Rather, I will say the drastic changes are required in the education policy, although National Education Policy 2020 is already there. Although it could not be implemented truly because of the pandemic, but that also has given lots of new avenues. But whether we have the funding for all those things, that we will discuss in the next round when we will I will putting you the questions. But one thing is very clear: the future of India education education in India depends how we will adapt the new technology, how the infrastructure will be developed, because as you know, the 70% of our students are from the rural area, and the condition of the infrastructure in rural area is not that great as that in the urban area. Thank you very much, Professor Pai, for giving your views and giving very, very clear views about the future education in India post-pandemic time. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Dr. Catherine Nirmala. Dr. Nirmala is MCom, MBA, CS, MPhil, PhD. She is the Associate Professor and Recognized Research Guide at Postgraduate Department of Commerce, St. Agnes Center for Postgraduate Studies and Research, Mangalore. She is the guest faculty of CPT in the Institute of Chartered Accountancy and St. Aloysius PU College, Mangalore. She is the former principal of Calco College of Management, Mangalore. She was the professor in business management at St. Agnes College for 17 years. She is the recruiter for Max Life Insurance. She completed 2 research projects and presented 23 papers in national and 12 papers in international conferences. She is keenly interested in women's empowerment, student welfare, and counseling. Welcome, Dr. Catherine Nirmala, on our show. Dr. Catherine, you have heard what Professor Pai has mentioned, and he has given all the suggestions what he thought. According to him, the future of education should be like this. Until unless we will not switch over to those systems using the technology, it's not possible for the education because of this pandemic, the nature of the pandemic, and because we don't know, nobody knows that when this will be eliminated totally from India. Until it is not eliminated, definitely the fear will be definitely there for the students and the children. Now, we would like to know from you the COVID returns, future of education in India. Dr. Catherine Nirmala, please.
Good morning, Mr. Lal Goel, Chairman of Organ Foundation, India. A very good morning to my dear friend, Dr. Nyaneshwar Pai, Mr. Sabir Hussain, and Director of V4 News. I'm indeed very grateful to Mr. Lal Goel, sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my views on education in the future, given the background of COVID-19. As my dear friend, Professor Nyanesh has said, my issues will also be mainly based on higher education, as we are both professors in the university setup and post-graduation. So please forgive me if I don't cover school education and the primary education. So as we all know that COVID-19 has been extraordinarily challenging, and the kind of disruption that it has set in the economic, in the educational field are not going to be, to be raised so soon in spite of the vaccine and everything else. Now the demands on the academic staff and students continue to be unparalleled in terms of being challenging. The work-life balance and this uncertainty that persists seem to have affected the teaching fraternity in a very, very unfamiliar way. However, in the space of the last 12 months, major changes have been done, and education has taken a paradigm shift and has kind of adjusted itself to the present scenario. And certain changes, I believe, are permanent, and they're going to impact the future of education forever. So I would like to place before the panel here certain aspects of changes, first of all, in the teaching evaluation pattern. So in this segment or in this dimension, I would like to discuss or place in front of this esteemed panel certain deliberations. First is the technology. As my colleague has already mentioned, before the pandemic, The use of technology was extremely little. Probably online resources were only used as a virtual filing cabinet. It was only a store of course materials, and nowhere was it used for real learning to take place. But now the pandemic has made it possible for online resources to be engaging, enriching, and accessible. So today, online resources are available to all in the backdrop of internet challenges and various other things that Mr. Lal Goel has already pointed out. So videos and interactive media are now have become an integral part of how students learn. So that's the first one. Second one is redefining engagement. Now, earlier, when a student was present in the class, physically present in the class, we would presume that the student has understood our lecture and it is synonymous with his attendance. Engagement was synonymous with his attendance. But now the whole concept of student engagement has to be redefined. When no one is physically present, when a student is showing that she is virtually present or he is virtually present, what does it imply? Does it mean that he is participating in our class? Does it mean that he is physically and virtually present there and actively listening and participating? Now we have to redefine this whole concept. Thirdly, creative assessment. Now, many universities and institutions have met the need of online assessment, but in our institution and many other institutions which are similar to ours, we have not been able to formulate a method of online assessment. We are still largely dependent upon the examination system in the traditional course. So in this case, what we do is we assess on the basis of what a student reproduces in a written examination. Now, traditional examinations have a focus only on recalling information rather than exploring a topic. Now, this is going to see a sea change in the coming years. Assessments that are open book, producing case studies, putting together podcasts, policy briefing papers, they reward curiosity and academic inquiry. So assessment is now going to become in future a learning journey. Some teachers have already been adapting this, but it's going to become large scale and we will see more of this happening. Now, a fourth perspective is students are going to be taken as partners more than just students. Now, online learning requires significant commitment from the students, and lecturers have to work along with the students, and therefore this has led to in universities in the future also it is going to be more increasingly students taken as partners in the education. So students are going to be co-designing activities, assessments, making them very, very active participants in the whole procedure. Fifthly, there is going to be a change in the formula. Now, traditionally, we have university set up having teaching as a combination of lectures and tutorials. But this has somehow not been recognized to be suitable and fit. But now things are going to be changed. Lectures can be replaced with peer instruction. Students will assume a role of an instructor, take virtual field trips of a physical space. So, many things as and when the particular topic demands it, many different activities and different teaching methodologies are going to come up in perspective. Now, the second aspect, I've just covered teaching and learning. Now, the second aspect that I want to speak about future of Indian education is the impact of Indian students seeking to study abroad. Is this going to result in a lesser amount of brain drain? Is the COVID-19 impact going to have a positive impact of brain drain? Are our students going to be less willing to go abroad? So I want to examine this point. Now, earlier, pre-COVID-19, when students wanted to pursue their higher studies abroad, what they would see was ease of admissions, educational qualifications or quality, immigration policies, and primarily the cost of education. However, now students are going to check whether the health, safety, and the minimum risk, and whether there is going to be offline classes. Universities that are going to charge a lot of fees and only offer online classes will not be among the priority list of the students. Safety concerns have shown that New Zealand, Australia, Germany are more appealing targets to students because they have handled the pandemic a little better when compared to United Kingdom and United States. South Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore are going to be the future destinations of our students for study. So speaking of some students in my own list, is this going to result in lesser amount of brain drain? I think not. With a little bit of research that I have done, I have seen that some students have only postponed their plans to study abroad rather than cancel their plans to study abroad because of this pandemic. So is it going to result in lesser amount of brain drain? I don't know, but are the universities, the world-class universities like Harvard, Stanford, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Oxford, and Yale, will they be able to attract students borrowing huge amounts as loan and paying more than $50,000 per year as tuition? We have to wait and see in the next 10 years what impact it has had on the demand for future courses abroad. Then, as my colleague Professor Gyanesh already put it, there's going to be fundamental changes in courses offered in India. Now, what I see in higher education is we are going to have students who are going to come even from the corporate sector. Many professionals have used this time to reskill themselves. They have this COVID-19 has forced computer professionals to reskill themselves. So it is true that skill sets are changing very, very fast, but certain important trends have been identified. Hyperconnectivity, cloud computing, a smarter world, cybersecurity, supercomputing. These will be some of the areas for which skilled manpower is definitely going to be needed. So universities are going to totally redesign their BTech courses, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all those are going to take the place of traditional degrees. So traditional degrees, there's going to be a big question mark as to how traditional degrees are going to survive in this world. And there is so universities are rapidly adopting a hybrid model of teaching professional courses. So COVID-19 will see a lot of short-term, demand for a lot of short-term management development programs, and there is going to be, as Gyanesh put it, balance between skills and theory. The upgradation of skills is going to be absolutely required. So more manufacturing and other areas are expected to grow in the COVID period, in the post-COVID period, and so the demand for professionals will also increase. So professional education will have to have 100% focus on employability. Also, another thing is there has to be an enablement of multi-entry and multi-exit options. So therefore, we will have a lot of certificate courses designed, diploma and degree. And lastly, will India host more international students post-COVID is what I would like to talk about. Now, some scholars believe that mobility will become more localized. So from North India, probably people will come to South India to East India. We have seen that in this past 1 year, students from within our Karnataka region or within our neighboring state, Kerala region, who normally take admission in a place like Bangalore, which is known for education, have somehow limited their access, and they have not really come for the ordinary degree courses to Mangalore. So this is also likely to happen. There could be localization and intensified exchanges taking place within regions. But will India be attractive, since courses in the big universities are not going to be attractive? Because one thing is, because of the loss of livelihood, will students be able to afford the developed countries? No. So India will be able to provide a cheaper package. So will it be more attractive? In that context, will India become more attractive? So important considerations for foreign students coming to India will include health concerns. The present condition and the way India handled the present second wave is not going to be very, very attractive for students. So what students are going to be looking at is the visa and immigration policies and what the Indian government is doing in order to attract foreign students. Certain governments like the Kerala State Higher Education Council established international relations groups, and they have designed those various provisions which benefit the students from other nations. So international relations group is set up to find solutions to various challenges faced by university students because of international collaboration. Now, UGC also has set up the details for various online learning platforms, and UGC has specifically given instructions to universities to facilitate students who are coming from abroad. So in November 2020, UGC published guidelines for reopening universities in a very user-friendly document specifically taking care of international students. It has made it mandatory to make arrangements for international students who have gone back to their places to enable them to access online teaching, learning arrangements, and international students who have gone abroad should not face any problem due to travel restrictions or visa-related issues. So in spite of some initiatives, there are still some things that need to be done. Arranging open online platform has to be done, providing mental health support to foreign students, monitoring students' performance on a daily basis. Faculty members have to be supported during pre-PhD. We have seen many foreign students coming for PhD programs. I myself have 2 students registered under me for Yemen, but this pandemic has totally put them out of course, and they had to go back simply because they had absolutely no funds. So in spite of all that has been done, more needs to be done. So before the pandemic, the Indian government had a very ambitious goal, with the 47,427 foreign students who were registered in 2018-19. The goal was to increase it 5-fold, but the pandemic has forced the Indian government to adjust this goal. So whether the central and the state government will react swiftly enough to rethink internationalization policies will make India a haven for future education for foreign candidates. So this is a few points to ponder that I would like to place before the panel. Thank you very much for this opportunity, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katrin Nimla, for giving again a new dimensions and new details about the education. And what she has mentioned, I would just highlight 1 or 2 very important points. First is the brain drain, and the second, the reverse brain drain. Now, both the points which she said, according to her, because she says earlier the students were looking for the higher education abroad, but because of the health issues, because of the travel restriction, they are restricted. But what research she has done, she says, according to her research, the students have postponed their plans for the future studies, but they have not cancelled it. And she says now the countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, they will be becoming more attractive than the UK and USA, which were earlier the hot places for the education. Similarly, she says earlier we were attracting foreign students to India, for which the government was having lots of ambitious plan to make it 5-fold. But due to the pandemic, that thing is also been stopped. She says lots of things to be done, lots of changes are required, lots of education syllabus is to be revamped, because now the time has changed where those education degrees which we are giving will become redundant because of the change in the technology day to day. And this thing is only possible if the universities, the colleges, the government, and even the students decide, all the stakeholders will decide and take new venues which are required for the present scenario, where the the students require those degrees which can be make them employable. So according to Dr. Catherine, it's not easy thing post pandemic. It's a very, very tough thing for the universities, for the colleges, as well as for the government. Until unless they will not take drastic actions, it's not easy to give all those facilities what we were giving pre-pandemic time. Thank you very much, Dr. Catherine Imla, for giving your views. I'm sure our viewers who are watching today will assess and will know that how much our educators are thinking, but whether the government is going to implement those things, it is a very, very important thing. And I'm sure if the government will take the stakeholders, all the educators, many of them, and take their views and then implement the new policy, because whatsoever education policy has come in force, again it has to be revisited, because of the pandemic many new changes have come, as our previous two panelists have said. Thank you very much, Dr. Catherine Nimla. Definitely, when I will come, I will put up a question to you regarding what you have mentioned. Now, I will go to our next panelist, and I would like to invite and introduce him. He is Mr. Sabir Hussain. Mr. Hussain is the founder of Wings School and Ways Educational Society, Adilabad, Telangana. He is eminent academician with more than 18 plus years of experience in academics and professional teaching trainer across diverse organizations. He is distinguished in conduction of conferences and seminars. He supervised more than 1,500 students' projects. He is motivational speaker in various academy of higher education and guided many feeble and demotivated students in and out of the schools. He explored challenging assignments in the field of academics with a professionally managed organization to leverage acquired skills in institutional and self-growth. He was consistently appreciated by students and supervising administrators for proactive involvement in curricular and institutional development to generate students' enthusiasm with better results in university examinations. He worked as the principal of Godam Model School, Telangana. He was awarded Best Principal by Narayan Reddy, Chairman, BGHS, Hyderabad in 2012. Welcome, Mr. Sabir Hussain on our show. Mr. Hussain, you have heard earlier panelist, Professor Pai, as well as Dr. Catherine, and both have given the complete picture what is going to happen. And they have given all the details which you have heard. Now, without going on those details, we would like to know from you the COVID returns, future of education in India. Mr. Sabir Hussain, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, for inviting me and presenting a beautiful introduction. But I often would like to call myself as learner. I am a good learner. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, please. Go ahead. Yes, Mr. Hussain, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, please. You are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to say that I would like to call myself as a learner because I learn things. And today I learned. My preparation do not meet to my previous panelists, but it's a proud moment to present my presentation. And hopefully you people will suggest me and ask me and interrupt me if there is any points to be not quoted. COVID has left all the stakeholders of educational sector with uncertain future. COVID has left students, teachers, management, all the stakeholders of the education sector with uncertain future. Among migrants, 91% of households reported loss of income, and 60% of households reported they had no money to pay for food, which led to insecurity and domestic violence. This is the major effect of the COVID. 4 in every 5 children reported facing obstacles to learning. And 3 in every 4 said they were stressed because of uncertain future, ambiguity, over going back to school, loss of family livelihood. According to the reports which were run by the Save the Child title, a generation at stake, protecting India's children from the impact of COVID-19. That was released on last Friday. The report polled parents and children from 46 countries, including India, where more than 1,500 plus parents and 900 plus students of age 11 and 17 from 11 states and from 2 union territories, Delhi and Jammu Kashmir, were surveyed to identify the impact of education, the impact of COVID on education, to help fill the gaps. The states included Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Assam, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Karnataka, and Telangana. It was not just a report. It was a true survey. Amongst migrant, I was saying, amongst migrant, 91% of the households reported loss of income and 60% households reported they had no money. Definitely, this has led to insecurity and domestic violence. Around 11% of children in the general group and 17% of migrant group reported violence at home during this pandemic. 17% is not a joke. 17% of children in the migrants group reported violence at home during pandemic. Forget about the economy now. That has ramshackled, that has destroyed everything. Whatever negative factors, whatever the negative impacts of the COVID, it played a vital role in destruction of it. I'm not talking about the economy. I'm talking about the education. 17% is not a joke. Students, children of age 11 to 17, playing the violence at home. What major impact we need of COVID. And definitely, this domestic violence during the pandemic will reflect to the education in the future. Definitely, it reflects into the education, especially in India. I'm talking about Indian reports, especially in India, 11 to 17 years, age students, children playing a major role in the domestic violence. I don't think it takes less time to recover the loss. And when we talk about the impact of COVID on the teacher community, what is the position of teacher community now? Who is taking care of them? They are stick to the point. Guru देने की क्षमता रखता है, लेने की नहीं. They are stick to the point. Guru देने की क्षमता रखता है, लेने की नहीं. What could be the future of education in India after COVID now? On other day, somewhere in the WhatsApp, somebody have posted, I am not sure about the accuracy of the report. 64,000 of the teachers have left the profession. 64,000 of the teachers, they left their profession and they are ready to work as a vegetable vendor. They're ready to work as an auto rakshawala. They're ready to work as a mestri mason. They left the profession. Teacher community is endangered. I want to say it. Teacher community is in endangered. So what could be the future of education in India? अरे वो एक जमाना था जहाँ पे एकलव्य स्टैच्यू को बनाकर स्टैच्यू के सामने स्टैच्यू की मदद से बहुत कुछ सीखता था. Had come out with a lot of skills. And when we are talking about this online educations, as my previous panelists have shared beautifully regarding the online, yes, I to accept online courses are convenient. I to accept online courses are flexible. I to say online courses brings education right to your home. I to accept online courses give more individual attention. I say it brings more reality in the world skills. I to say it promotes lifelong learning. I do not agree with the advantages of the online courses which we are running by the school management. Means education of online has switched to online. What could be the future of education in India? I'm talking about Indian education, where technology still need improvement, where technical skills are still required to adhere into the community. I say online courses teach us to be self-disciplined. I also say online courses help us to connect to the global village, to the global village. कोरोना विलेजों में भी धूम मचा रहा. Corona is affecting the villages even. So what could be the future of education in India? But I am worried about few things of online education. I cannot say these are the disadvantages, or I cannot say this can be an effect or ये कुछ ऐसी चीजें. But I am worried about it. What is that? I do these online courses are more good than the campus classes? क्या online courses campus classes से बढ़िया है? I am also worried about the online courses. Procrastinate में कितना involvement है? How do these online courses help in the procrastinate? I am worried about जिनके पास time management skills नहीं है. They need to improve this time management skill. वो online courses कैसे adhere कर रहे हैं? I am worried about them who do not know the time management skills. I also worry the independency of the online courses. Kitna independency and how this independence is used by the stakeholders. I say online courses instructions जो भी होते हैं और instructors जो भी होते हैं, during their instructions, definitely they will be hounding you to stay on task. Either they will ask you example, ना जल्दी बताना, chat box खोलकर जल्दी बताना, something. They just keep you busy. That is absolutely good. So how far it has been used in the technical skills? Online courses gives more freedom. I am worried about the use of freedom. उतनी freedom जितनी की हम handle कर सके is good. Try to understand, please. The freedom not more than which we cannot handle it. That is most important. So these are some of the things I'm worried about these online courses. Now, when we talk about the education, yeah, it was rightly quoted by our first Gyaneshwar ji, artificial intelligence is robotics. These are nothing but the fourth industrial revolution. That's right. Absolutely. It should be used and it should be brought into the existence. Instead of learning to memorize facts and figures, education should be used to learn how to learn and how to solve problem. That is what is artificial intelligence. That is what is the fourth industrial revolution teaches us. How to learn and how to solve the problem. I say there are two types of education. Education for education, and education for employability. So what is the position of employment now in this pandemic? And what could be the future of education in India? We should bring the working world into education. We should bring the working world into education a lot earlier, actually, a lot earlier, and take education into working world. We should bring, I repeat, we should bring the working world into education a lot earlier and take education into working world. Education has historically been what I call, just in case of education, which gives you all kinds of facts and figure. It may become relevant to you. But today, what we need is just in time education. Just in time education. I say it's lifelong. You are always learning. That is education. It is focused on learning how to learn and learning how to solve problems. Then definitely the future of education is saved. Definitely the future of education brings a drastic change in the community. Another big challenge for the future of education is staff and other personals. I have found that people are so used to what they themselves have gone through that they are inclinations is to try to replicate what they experience in their institutions. We are trying to overcome barriers and to do something different. So we have to be very careful when hiring to make sure that the people we have the courage and the passion to break the conventions. And I don't think they don't want to just replicate the status quo. That is incredibility difficult to. I accept it. It is very difficult. But some people have joined us saying they are passionate about our destructive models, but they don't want to do things in the conventional ways. It has been started in the pandemic. And the future of education needs financial assistance. Raising money, especially giving the high level of poverty. People who need education cannot afford it. Education used to be one short game. Now it has to be a lifelong game. Pandemic may every stakeholders of the education department has learned a lot. It's not. But education, in those days, education it was used to be one short game. Now it has to be a lifelong game. That is what I am worried, how the future of education in India, when it is going to be used for the lifelong game. On other day, I was being called for a webinar. And in that webinar, the moderator asked a question. चलिए बताइए आपका ambition क्या है? What is the ambition? What is your ambition? Simple question है. Simple question. Very simple question. Students started typing in the chat box. Teacher, pilot, doctor, engineer, air hostess, dancer, singer. Surprised? I didn't find in the chat box businessman, entrepreneurship. If this continues, if no child is aware of the advantage and the disadvantage of the businessman entrepreneurship, that is called as ownership skills, what could be the future of education in India. And that webinar was of Indian students. I didn't find in the chat box कि मैं businessman बनना चाह रहा हूं, मैं एक entrepreneur बनना चाह रहा हूं. I didn't find it. I was really shocked. And the policies made by the government, they are very good. Our governments, state government, regional government, Indian government, they are very good in designing and reimagining. But when it comes to the implementation, I am worried about the future of education. How could be that? When it comes to the implementation of those policies, redesigning, reimagining. We often hear कि इतना सारा parliament. I don't remember the number of that 5-year plan, parliamentary plan, in what it was been disclosed. मैं पढ़ा बहुत खुश हुआ. Some crores of rupees were announced as a fundraising for the education system. पता नहीं. Then why the teacher community, 64,000 of teachers have left the profession. So I'm worried about the government policies and their implementation. I would like to conclude my saying by worrying about the future of education, how it could be. I just want Mr. Goel to relook into the strategies of education and policies. What best we can do, I am ready. If there is anything, a single hand is always forward to help the teacher community. What best we can do. And thank you, Mr. Goel, for inviting me on this webinar. Thanks a lot, and I learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hussain, for giving your very forthright, full of anguish, but the practical views, the condition of the education today and what you are perceiving for the future. Thank you very much. For paucity of time, so I'm going directly for the question. Now, my question goes to Dr. Pai first. Dr. Janeshwar Pai, you spoke about the artificial intelligence. According to a report from the World Economic Forum, 85 million jobs will be replaced by machines with AI by the year 2025. You know very well, once the AI will be implemented, so many jobs we are going to lose. What is already, there are no jobs. So if the jobs will further, if we are talking about the artificial intelligence or such type of technology, further, there will be no jobs. And once the jobs will not be there, what will be the future of the students? Why the student would like to study when he or she knows that there will be no job in India tomorrow? So artificial intelligence is good to use as a tool. But if we will be implementing it in India with full flow, it is going to harm because we are not ready. We are not ready to create. Although there is a report further says that 87 million jobs can be created. But you know very well, it can be only created when we are going to implement those things, which, as Mr. Hussain has mentioned, the implementation part missing. So what you say about this, Dr. Pai?
Yes, sir. The job loss, I feel, would be for the fear psychosis should be for the untrained personnel. For a trained personnel, I think there will not be any problem. Also, coming to at the time of implementation, whether it's going to be really implemented, do we have that much money to be spent? Right? If you look into the last year's budget, government spent only 6.34 or set aside only rupees 6.43 lakh crore, which comes up to $88 billion for education. If you look into China, they have spent 3.7 trillion yuan, which comes up to $520 billion for education. Do you think government can afford all these things? Can government schools afford, I would say, AI, AR, or ML? There is hardly any roof or a ceiling. We have been to doing survey of schools in government, Udupi district. They hardly have furniture to sit, and we are talking about a strong infrastructure and PCs and all that stuff. So many government first grade college have no faculty members. Are we talking about, and we are talking about trained faculty members who can efficiently handle AI or and AR? It is more like a joke. Can government first of all appoint the teachers, upskill the teachers, reskill the teachers? There is hardly any government, there's hardly money left in the government exchequer, both at the center and the state. That leaves me $1 million question. Will the unskilled teachers be able to hold attention span of the youth handling the complex technologies? And a teacher who knows how to handle, who has aptitude to learn innovative technologies, there will be no problem. It is only for a teacher with a closed mindset who's not willing to learn, there will be a possibility of job loss.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pai or Dr. Pai. Although there are lots of things coming in my mind, but I will not post you of time. Now I would like to go to Dr. Catherine directly. You talk about the brain drain. Tell me one thing. Today, when we are talking of online education, if a student, if he's getting the online education from Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial College, etc., online education, why he would like or she would like to take an online classes in India from the Indian universities when they know that if the degree of those universities matters, okay, and there is no expenses of he or she going there if it is an online education? Don't you think this thing, once it is will be there, and it's already there, so many universities are offering, even they are offering free short-term courses right now also. So what will be the future about the students who will be, as you are rightly said, that they are planning, they are postponing, but even if they will join the online education, they would not like to join the local universities education. They will give preference even if they have to pay some more money, those who can afford, because online education, again I am repeating, is only to those who can afford today. Otherwise it's totally, because rural students, they don't have money, even they don't have connections, infrastructure is not there. If the money is there, the infrastructure is not there. So what do you say about this, Dr. Catherine?
Yes, so thank you very much. That's a very, very apt question. But number one, I would like to talk about the Indian mentality. The students are basically Indian. Now, when it comes to online, now a normal student will not pay the fees of Cambridge or Yale or any of the top universities for an online course. Now, courses have been available free of cost on Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which offers free courses to engineering students. But my question is, how many takers are there from India? Number one. Then number two, students are willing to go, most of the students from India, they take up an online course only because their objective is immigration. They want to migrate to a foreign country, and most of the foreign countries make it mandatory that the access to their country is through a course. And that is the main reason why our students are taking up courses abroad, not so much for the course, but only because they want to go to that and migrate to that foreign country. Okay. So with this thing in the background, I don't think our students with the Indian mentality can afford to pay the fees in dollars and sit at home and do a course which is online. Oh. Personally, I have spoken to people and they have said that if it is online, they prefer to do it in an Indian university.
Okay. In case if they will cut their fees, then definitely they will go according to you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now my question goes to Mr. Hussain. Mr. Hussain, as you have mentioned the grim picture, and we all know the reality is this, then what is the future of the brick and mortar colleges and universities? So many big universities and the college buildings are there once the online courses are there. And as you said, the standard is nothing in comparison to the pre-pandemic era. Why not declare? Because this 2021 and 21-22 students, what will be the future? What will be the employability of them when they will go down the year, say after 5 years, to any of the industry? Industry will say, sorry, you are from that COVID time, you are not employable because your education level is not that high in comparison to pre-pandemic and post-pandemic era of the students. So why not declare these as a 0 year? Don't take any students. declare everything zero. Let the government will pay for the universities, colleges, teachers, as in other countries, if they have closed, although the education is open everywhere. What you say about this? Time is short, only 1 minute reply.
Yeah, yeah, I accept it. Whatever you have said, it should be declared 0 year. Should be declared 0 year. But when we talk about education, future of education, once again, future of education, so what we need to come out with what my view, I'm just expressing my view. Instead of giving people a menu of academic discipline, instead of giving people a menu of academic discipline, we should give the menu of problems and challenges that the world is facing today. That definitely, when the government declares the 0 year, and the future of the education is in the safe hand. Menu of problem and challenges.
Okay.
That is only my one line answer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So today, viewers, we have seen the expert views. They feel that the future of education can be bright only when the stakeholders take full active role by providing, changing the curriculum, providing the funding, because there lots of things are required. Infrastructure is required. Unless the infrastructure is not developed, the curriculum is not changed with the demands, the new education things which are happening everywhere, new industry norms, what they require. It's not possible that the students of India will have that future unless everyone will come and join hands. And let's hope that the government of the day will join hands with the state governments as well as implement the education policy and revisit the education policy also. So thank you very much, all the panelists. You have given so much thought-provoking views today. I'm sure these views should be taken by the government as a thing and try to implement few of them, whichever they feel like, so that the education future can be bright in India. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, Newsgaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic. And as you know, from yesterday, we have started the evening transmission, evening telecast of our live program in Hindi. And yesterday, we have done it for half an hour. The program is for half an hour. Today, again, we are going to have, as per the series, it's a daily program. Today at 4:30 p.m. Kal Aaj Aur Kal Lal Goel ke Sang, and our chief guest is Mr. Ajit Kulshrestha, former Additional Director General, CRPF. He will be talking about his yesterday, today, tomorrow, that is Kal Aaj Aur Kal with me, and we will be asking and checking what he has done in his life from the very beginning, his childhood, education, today, and then how he has reached on the top of the service, and then what is his future message to the youth. So please joining today at 4:30 p.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pai. Thank you very much, Dr. Catherine Nimla, and thank you very much, Mr. Sabir Hussain, for giving your views, and thank you all the viewers for watching our show. Thank you very much.